Everyone, and good afternoon. Let me introduce myself. I am Dexter Satterfield, licensing team lead at TABC's main office located at 5806 Mesa Drive in Austin, Texas. I'd like to thank everyone that is tuning in to our Lunch and Learn TABC's Talk edition for today's presentation. Today's presentation is an introduction on what you'll need to know to successfully submit a complete original application for any of our out-of-state or in-state permittees and licensees that are in our manufacturing tier. I will also be providing information for updating your permit and or license for a change of location, change of business ownership, and change of business contact information. Before we begin, here are a few housekeeping items that I want to stress. This following presentation was developed to improve internal and external communications and ensure a more consistent application of TABC statutes and rules. This guidance reflects appropriate processes, requirements, and interpretations based on general situations presented herein. We are aware that this guidance may not apply to every situation. If you have a specific circumstance that you need guidance on, please contact us directly. During the presentation, you may interact by the chat feature located in the toolbar at the bottom of the presentation window. Today, for the benefit of efficiency and communication, I will wait until the conclusion of the presentation to respond and address any questions from our guest. Sarah Fricke, licensing team lead for the Austin region, is also here to assist with any questions that needs to be answered. If you experience any technical issues, please visit the Zoom's Help Center located at the website address shown on the page. Okay, today's presentation is titled Applying for and Updating Your License, Manufacturers. Our goal today is to provide useful guidance to manufacturer tier applicants on how to timely and properly file applications for original licenses and permits. Afterwards, we will provide some information that will assist you whenever there's a change or update to your license or permit. These will include change of location, change of business ownership, and change of business contact information. Let's go over the presentation overview for today's presentation. First, we want to identify where the manufacturers are located within Texas's three-tier system for regulating alcohol. We want to touch on planning processes to utilize in order to obtain your permit and or license timely. We're going to go over some application documents that we utilize for non-residents in our out-of-state direct shipper wineries. We're also going to go over application materials and procedures used by our in-state applicants. We will then address what to expect after submitting your application, and we would like to provide some information on application forms utilized for updating your license or permit for the change of location, change of business ownership, and as I mentioned earlier, change of business contact information. Hopefully, you will gain a better understanding of TABC's processes and application requirements. Our mission at TABC is to serve the people of Texas and protect the public health and safety through consistent, fair, and timely administration of the Alcoholic Beverage Code. All right, let's address manufacturers tier 1. And this diagram that we showed, since the Texas Liquor Control Board was established in 1935, the state of Texas has adopted a three-tier system to regulate the manufacturing, distribution, and retail sales of alcoholic beverages. We have tier 1 manufacturers. We have breweries, wineries, distilleries, and so forth listed in the top tier 1. The middle tier are for the distributors and wholesalers. Distributors usually distribute the beer. The wholesalers are for wine and distilled spirits and ale. And at the bottom, we have tier 3, which are for our retailers. This would be your convenience stores, restaurants, private clubs, and so forth. Before we start discussing our out-of-state manufacturers, let's discuss application planning considerations. It takes TABC about 2 months to process and issue a license or permit from the date that TABC receives a completed application. Prior to submission of a completed application to us, you'll need to determine other requirements that may be necessary prior to your submission of your completed application to us. Some cases require federal permits. An example would be a TTB permit. Some beer manufacturers and brewers may require a TTB brewer's notice. Wineries must possess a federal winemakers and blenders basic permit issued by the TTB prior to receiving a permit from TABC. For our in-state manufacturers, there may be some local ordinances relevant to your proposed location. For example, you may be within a certain distance from a church, school, daycare that may conflict with the local certifications that are going to be required. We also, for some of our distilleries, breweries, and beer manufacturers, if applicable, a 60-day sign may be required for a location not previously licensed for the on-premise consumption of alcoholic beverages. Wineries are not included with this guideline. These are just a few examples of items that need to be considered as part of your application process with regard to proper planning. We encourage you to take due diligence and time to get these items taken care of prior to your submission, and hopefully we can get you a timely application. Okay, let's begin first discussing out-of-state manufacturers. I'm going to start with the non-resident permittees and licensees. First, we have non-resident seller's permit, identified by the letter S. The non-resident authorizes distillers, wineries, importers, brokers, and others to solicit, take orders, ship liquor, or cause liquor to be shipped to permittees, to the permittees authorized to import the liquor into the state of Texas. We have non-resident brewers permits. These are identified by the U. These breweries are located outside the state that imports their ale or malt liquor into Texas. A non-resident brewer must also hold a non-resident seller's permit. The permit holder may contract with the holder of other brewery permits to provide brewing services, or they can use the permit holder's brewing facilities under an alternating brewery proprietorship. That's why we say the permit is for the actual manufacturer or the brand owner. So when we're talking about brand owner, it could mean that your product is being manufactured under a contract or alternating proprietorship agreement. We also have a non-resident manufacturer's license, and this license authorizes the holder to transport beer into the state of Texas only to the holder of importer's licenses. As with a non-resident brewer's permit, the licensee may contract with the holder of a non-resident manufacturer license to provide manufacturing services for the use of licensing holders' manufacturing facilities under alternating brewery proprietorship. Another out-of-state applicant that we will be discussing would be the out-of-state winery direct shippers permit. The out-of-state winery direct shippers application is utilized for out-of-state wineries that sell and deliver wine that is produced or bottled by the permittee to consumers located in wet or dry areas in the state of Texas. The out-of-state winery direct shippers permittees must operate a winery located in the United States. However, they may not hold a winery permit in the state of Texas. The permittees are required to have a Texas sales tax permit and a federal winemakers and blenders basic permit with the Alcohol and Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau, better known as TTB. That's one of the items we had discussed previously in planning processes prior to submission of your application. Packets for both the non-resident application and the out-of-state winery direct shippers packet are located on our website. Within both of the packets are requirements that need to be completed. Critical application requirements. Okay, when you do these applications, there are certain items that needs to be addressed. And I'm just going to briefly go over some of the items that we look for. You will be needing to identify the business entity type, whether it's individual, corporation, limited liability corporation, limited partnership, whatever. You would also provide the business entity contact information. You will be required to provide the business entity's federal employer identification number, better known as FEIN. And then you should be able to provide personal information on all business owners, officers, etc. So I want to touch base on whenever we're talking about reporting an applicant's entity structure. So the personal information for all officers, directors, and stockholders holding ownership in the entity applying must be reported. 100% of the ownership must be disclosed down to individuals. If any shares are held by another entity, you must also complete a separate ownership form, such as an LC for the corporations, an LP for limited partnerships or partnerships, or the L-LLC for limited liability corporations. On these entity forms, you will be reporting officers, directors, and stockholders which hold ownership in that entity. Failure to provide the required information will delay the processing of your application. For our non-resident applicants, they have to file a power of attorney form with the Texas Secretary of State. The purpose of this power of attorney form is to designate a service agent that is a resident of the state of Texas who can represent the permittee or licensee. Okay, submitting your applications. Once the applications for the non-resident seller, non-resident brewer, non-resident manufacturer, or out-of-state winery direct shipper, so these would be the S, the U, and the BS, and the DS. Once these applications are complete, they must be sent by postal mail to the TABC PO box office. That box office is 13127 in Austin, Texas. Zip code 78711. Total fees and surcharges to cover the initial 2-year license or permit must be paid at the time of application. Personal checks will not be accepted, and the payment must be in the form of a cashier's check, money order, or corporate company check made payable to the Comptroller of Public Accounts. Now let's talk a little about the application processes for in-state permittees and licensees that are in our manufacturing tier. First, we have our distillers and rectifiers, commonly known as distilleries, represented by the letter D. This permit authorizes permit holders to manufacture distilled spirits and to rectify, purify, and refine distilled spirits. They can mix liquor and bottle and package the permit holders' products and sell to wholesalers and qualified individuals outside the state. The distilleries may also import from non-resident sellers distilled spirits for manufacturing and rectifying purposes. The fee for this permit is $3,350 for the initial permit and all subsequent renewals. We also have an in-state manufacturer applicant, the winery, represented by the letter G. This permit authorizes the holder to manufacture, bottle, label, and package wine containing not more than 24% alcohol by volume, sell or buy wine from permit holders authorized to purchase and sell wine, including wholesalers, winery, and wine ballers permittees. They can also sell wine to the ultimate consumers for consumption on the winery premises or in unbroken packages for off-premise consumption. And they can dispense the free wine for consumption on the winery premises. Also included in this group are the brewer's permit, the Bs. This permit authorizes holders to manufacture ale and malt liquor, and they can sell the ale and malt liquor only to wholesale permit holders in the state or to qualified persons outside the state. If annual production of ale together with annual production of beer by the holder of a manufacturer's license at the same premise does not exceed a total of 225,000 barrels, the holder may sell the ale produced on the brewer's premise under the permit to ultimate consumers on its premises. Combined sales of the ale together with sales of beer to the ultimate consumer may not exceed 5,000 barrels annually. We have the manufacturer's license known as the BA. This license authorizes the holder to manufacture beer and sell it to holder of a general, local, and branch distributor's license and to qualified persons outside the state, and to dispense beer for on-premise consumption. Permit holder may enter into an alternating brewery proprietorship or contract brewing arrangement. We are aware that there are some subordinate permits and licenses that go with the brewer's permit and the manufacturer's license, such as the brewer's self-distribution permit or the manufacturer's self-distribution license. We are not discussing that at this time, but we do want to make that statement that we are aware of the different requirements for those particular self-distribution permits. Okay, the original application for in-state manufacturers consists of 3 application packets. We have the pre-qualification packet, which is named the Wholesalers, Distributors, and Manufacturers Pre-Qualification Packet. We have the location packet for wholesalers, distributors, and manufacturers, and we have the business packet. The business packet is only completed by applicants who do not hold a current and active license and/or permit issued by TABC. You may access any of these packets on our website. You can use the direct link shown on our screen, or you can go to our homepage selecting Forms, followed by selecting Licensing Original Applications. This will take you to Licensing Original Application Forms, and from the heading Wholesalers, Distributors, and Manufacturers, the packets will be located there. For in-state applicants, I wanted to also go over some of the critical application requirements. As mentioned earlier, we have a few additional items. We need to identify the business entity type, whether it be individual, corporation. We need to provide the business entity contact information, and we need the FEIN number for that business entity. As with the out-of-state applicants, we need personal information of all business owners, officers, etc. Please make sure that no person involved in the application has ownership and an interest in other levels of the alcoholic beverage industry. Also, for our in-state applicants, you will need to provide some ownership information. These are the owners of land and/or building. Also, if it's not owned by the applicant, you generally have lease terms. So be sure to include all of this information when you're completing the application. We also have certifications that are required by city or county and ensuring that the business location is in a wet area. Also, you'll have a comptroller cert, which provides a sales tax permit certification. You will need to also provide evidence of proper publication in your local newspaper. I will be discussing information on that requirement next. Okay, talking about the publisher's affidavit. All applicants are required to publish in 2 consecutive publications of a local newspaper that they are applying for a permit or license. This is an example of what the publisher's affidavit should look like. It is important to publish the full name of the type of license or / permit that you're applying for. So for instance, above you would say application has been made with the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission for a winery permit. You wouldn't put for a G permit. Hopefully this format will give you an idea of the requirements with regard to publishing notice. For 11.39 in our code, manufacturer applicants required to publish include brewers, distilleries, and wineries. After completing your application, it's now time for submission. Applications should be submitted in person to your local TABC office or via mail. You will receive a greeting letter with a remit letter payment request from the manager of your application. The remit letter with payment should be sent directly to TABC's P.O. Box 13127 in Austin, Texas, 78711. You're also allowed to deliver overnight to our physical address, which is 5806 Mesa Drive, Austin, Texas, 78731. Remember, fees may not be prorated, and the fee must be paid with a cashier's check, money order, or firm check made payable to the Comptroller of Public Accounts. Personal checks are not accepted. After you submit your application, you'll be notified via email by the manager of your application. This manager is assigned to your application and will be there to help you throughout this process. Remember, if contacted by TABC with requested corrections to your application, provide those promptly to prevent further delay in processing your application. You may also complete a responsibilities course anytime after submission of your application if applicable. This responsibility course can be found on our website, or another option would be to make an appointment to meet individually with an auditor. Remember, if an original application is incomplete, we will send the application back to you, and it would be considered not received by the agency. Once your permit or license has been approved, there may be changes that may occur later. That's what we're going to talk about next as far as updating your license and permit. We're just going to briefly go over some of the changes that are out there that you may need to do and what's required for those types of updates to your license or permit. First, you must promptly notify TABC of a change in your location. You must submit a sworn affidavit reflecting the new business location. Remember, this is for out-of-state entities. You only need a sworn affidavit if you change your business location, and this must be done before your business's change in location occurs. Included on this affidavit would be permit license number, trade name, your new location address, and a notarized signature of applicant with sworn statement. No TABC form is needed for the change of out-of-state license or permittees. Upon approval, TABC will mail you the new license or permit. Remember to follow these steps, because failure to follow these steps could result in an administrative action or up to cancellation of your license permit. Change of business locations for in-state licenses and permits. Okay, for a change of license located inside the state for Tier 1 manufacturers, you will need to submit the same application that is utilized for original applications. The only difference being that you check the box on the application for change of license location rather than original. This box will be on the first page of the pre-qualification packet, and then also on the first page of the location packet. Remember, the change must be approved prior to operating at the new location with regards to alcohol. Since this application is essentially the same as an original application, you will need to complete all items that you completed for an original application, such as certifications from the city and the county, the publisher's affidavit. You need to provide us owner premise information, because generally when there's a change of location, the owner premise will change. Also, you will need to provide the new lease terms for that new location. All applicable questions pertaining to your permit type must be answered. The applications must be submitted to your local TABC office either in person or by mail. A permit will be mailed after approval of the supplemental application. Again, failure to follow these steps could result in an administrative action or cancellation of your license permit. The expiration date will not change when you change your business location. For changes in business ownership of both in-state and out-of-state permittees and licensees, the business packet for reporting changes is utilized. This packet must be completed if there has been any change within your current business structure, such as change of officers, change of business entity, merger, or conversion. Remember to provide complete information on your entity pages. This includes personal information and providing personal history sheets when necessary for your in-state permittees. This packet is located on TABC's website by going to Forms, followed by Licensing, Original Applications. Then look for the heading Supplemental Applications for Reporting Changes. You will locate the packet in that section. After completion, you must submit your completed packet to your local TABC office. If you are a holder of an out-of-state manufacturer's permit or license, submit your application directly by mail to TABC P.O. Box, which is 13127 Austin, Texas 78711. Or again, you can overnight it to our physical address of 5806 Mesa, Austin, Texas 78731. It should be noted that some changes require prior notification, such as a change of entity is one example, where you must notify us before the effective date of the change, just to keep in mind. Okay, let's talk about change in business contact information. You must promptly notify whenever you have a change in your business's contact information. The contact information generally includes email addresses and phone numbers. You may submit these changes via email to our licensing mailbox, which is licensing@tabc.texas.gov. Be sure to reference your business's name and your license and/or permit number and the contact information you need to update. When we update this information, we do not print a new permit or license. Okay, let's conclude our presentation and review some of the items that we discussed. First, begin your application process several months in advance when you actually need an active license or permit, so proper planning is encouraged. Address federal and local government requirements before submitting your application to TABC. This is with regards to the TTB permits that may be required, or consulting with your local government, determine if there's not any ordinances that would prohibit you from having a permit or license at that location. Complete the appropriate application forms based on whether you're an in-state or out-of-state applicant. Be ever mindful of cross-tier issues. With regards to publish a proper notice of your application request, and this is for in-state applicants. Follow instructions on accepted forms of payment. And then promptly notify TABC of any changes to your business's ownership, location, and contact information. So that concludes our presentation for today, but we're always available for questions. Okay, we've got some questions. I'm going to say it out loud for everyone in our listening group can hear what the question is. Okay, this question asks, why the large variance in permit fees from a winery to a brewery? Okay, permit and license fees are set by a combination of laws set by the legislature and our TABC administrative rule. For example, the fee set by the legislature for brewers is $3,000. The administrative fee set by TABC is $576. While the state fee for a winery is $150, the TABC administration fee is $701. Again, the large variance is set by our legislature, and then we have the fees, which are set by TABC. I hope that answers that question. Remember, if you have any additional inquiries, you can submit these items to our stakeholder at tabctexas.gov. Okay, we have another question. This question states, regarding the Sunset Commission instruction to require only name, address, and date of birth from individuals that are not the primary applicant or owners of holders of a basic permit, will TABC extend that to malt beverage manufacturers even though they get a brewer's notice, not a basic permit? Okay, for that answer, all I can really say is after the legislative session, any changes in law will be addressed by us and additional updates to our industry guidelines. So once the legislature session has ended and we have an instruction on what we need to do to change what we currently have, we will take the steps necessary to follow the guidelines given to us by the legislature. I hope that helps. All right, we have another question. Is there a fee to change locations within the state? No, at this time there is no additional fee that is required to change your location. Like I said earlier, you need to complete the application packets that are used for original applications. You're just going to submit change in business location or change in license location. You will still need to do all of your certifications. You need to publish in a paper if this is for an in-state permit, and do all the necessary things. But at this time, no, there is no fee to change locations within the state. Okay, it looks like I have another question. This question asks or states, for updates to the officers on a license, how many days do licensees have to submit notice to the state? There's no set amount of days. What we encourage you to do is to promptly notify us once the updates have taken place. As far as a predetermined amount of days that we say that it has to be done, no, we just want to say that notify us promptly of any changes or for updates to your officers. I hope that question was answered to your satisfaction. All right, I would like to thank you guys for the great questions that were sent to us. Remember, if you would like additional guidance and want to inquire about other items, you are encouraged to send the correspondence at our email address, stakeholder@tabc.texas.gov, and we will address any of your concerns that you may have with us. Thanks for watching this presentation. Please send us recommendations on topics that you would like us to address in future TABC Talks presentations. Topic recommendations may be sent to stakeholder@tabc.texas.gov. We appreciate any feedback or suggestions for improvement that you can provide so that our future presentations will be better. Also, help us improve this program by participating in the short survey following this presentation. Thanks again, and have a good day.